So welcome back to the shop, friends. Today we've got a lot packed into this video. We're going to do three things. First off, we're going to do a service on the air compressor. We're going to use these wedge anchors to bolt it down to the concrete slab so it quits dancing around the shop. We're going to open one more of the time capsules and attempt to build the world's best mousetrap. So shut the power off, let's bleed the air out of it, and then we can move it into where I want it to go. This is going to be loud. Let's see if we can move this back to where it belongs. If you need to drill a hole in concrete or masonry, you're going to need a hammer, or you're going to want a hammer drill and these special bits. So this is what they call a hammer drill, or some people call it a roto hammer. And what it is a heavy-duty drill that has a hammer feature that hits. Some of the new cordless drills even have that feature, and they work pretty good for smaller bits. But we're going to be putting big anchors in. We're going to be putting these big 5/8 inch wedge locks. So you need a special bit with these. If you look at these bits, they'll be really heavy duty and they'll have that fine point on them, or that reinforced point on there like that. Now you can drill into masonry or concrete with a normal drill without the hammer feature, but you get a hole that gets kind of oblonged and you have to push a lot. It's really difficult. So the hammer effect, that bam, 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 really makes it effective. Once the hole's drilled, we're going to use an anchor. Some guys call them redheads. Redhead is kind of the name brand. You can see this is a 6-inch, the length of it. So you have to kind of determine how thick your slab is. I poured this slab when we first moved in, and it's probably between about 4 and 5 inches deep. So we don't want one that's this long. It will actually go through the concrete and there's nothing for it to bite onto. It will eventually work, but you'll have a bunch of this thread sticking out and it's not ideal. So we're going to go with more of the generic version, but the principle is the same thing. You drill the hole, and then you pound it in, and then as you tighten this up, this is a wedge right here, and that spreads out and bites on the concrete. Also on these wedge type anchors, usually the hole that you drill is the exact same size. So if you look on the container, it'll tell you right there, drill bit size is 5/8. I always really appreciate that when manufacturers do it, so you don't have to go look it up, because it's really important to have the right size. So I'm going to put a 1/2 inch in here, so it's a little bit smaller, so we can kind of do the pilot holes, or basically just mark it in place, and then we'll move the compressor out of the way, because you'll see in a minute that these bolts are too big to fit through the holes on the feet. We've got 3 feet here, and they're pre-drilled. This is the 5/8 bit. This is the one we're going to want to use with the anchor, but it won't fit to that hole right there. So I want to mark this. I measured it off the wall so it's all square with the building. Now if I put this right in the center, we're just going to make a little divot and just give ourselves a reference. I'm just going to rotate this a little bit to expose the marks. Oh, it's a heavy compressor. Here's a little divot that we made with that 1/2 inch bit. So I switched over to the 5/8. This will be our final size here. I can put the compressor over one of the holes now. I didn't think this out too well. I bought a 5/8 anchors and I've got 1/2 inch holes in there. So I'll take this step bit and just drill that out. So what I need, there we go, piece of cake. This is why I like to work with a tool cart, because you can bring all of your primary tools right to you, and you always have what you need. So we're going to tighten this up about, it's not going to, the only purpose of this is just to keep it from moving around, so we don't need to go crazy with it, but typically what we used to do is about 3 to 4 turns or so. And just so you know about spacing, if you're wondering how close you can put these together, what if I remember right, it's if you take the length of the anchor and then you times that times 10, so measure what the length if you laid 10 of them end to end, and you don't want to be closer than that for your next anchor. And if you're next to an edge, it's 5 inches. You can go 5 inches at edge. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I remember. As we tighten this up, it'll wedge that in there and pull that down nice and tight. I don't know what it is about it, but I've always found it to be very satisfying putting good, big, solid anchors down in concrete. It's a good thing. So that is that. That is nice to get that done. I did not put an anchor in the back. It's not necessary. It's too hard to get to. This thing is super heavy. The only thing I wanted to do was to keep it from moving, and with 2 anchors on there, that's going to be good. Okay, let's change the oil really quick. Draining the oil is pretty simple. Most of them are going to have a sight glass right there where you can see the level. You'll see the drain plug, you'll see a fill plug, and you'll also have a breather valve. The breather sometimes they have a ball bearing in there. Just make sure that they're cleaned out, make sure that they're functioning. Once the oil's all drained out, put your plug back in, of course, and the fill will be usually a different plug. Now you're going to want to use 30-weight non-detergent oil. That's really important that it's non-detergent, the old school stuff. You can buy compressor oil. It's going to be, for the most part, you have to check your manufacturer, of course, but for the most part, that's going to be what's going to work. And if you buy this, it's going to be cheaper than compressor specific oil. They do those things sometimes just to so they can mark stuff up to make it sound like it's fancy. Kind of like power steering fluid for years. I mean, it was basically ATF at twice the price, so you could buy ATF and put it in there. But we're just going to, if you have a good compressor, is going to have a sight glass in there. It's going to make it nice and simple. Everything with machinery should have a sight glass on it. It just is such a great design, and you can just look at a glance and see where your levels are at. I love sight glasses. Unfortunately, we're not going to be starting this compressor today. I put a whole cord in there and it didn't fill it up. I thought for sure that would be enough. It's got a huge crankcase. All right, we'll lock it off and we'll put the air filter in, and then we'll have to put another cord in there and pick that up when we go to town. For your air filter, don't automatically throw it away. Some of these compressors, actually a lot of them, have a cotton filter that's washable, and sometimes there'll be a little foam deal on there. So kind of like a K&N filter, you're just going to use, I just use some hot soapy water, use some Dawn, and there's some sort of a degreaser, and then just work that back and forth several times until you don't get any more dirt out of it. And then rinse it out in some clean water and then let it dry. I'll take it inside, put it by the wood stove. Same for this little guy, the little element that goes on the outside. Just take and wring it. This is pretty dirty. That looks pretty good. I'll just take that foam guy there and you can see that there's no more dirt in it. That's a lot cleaner there. All right, I'll take that inside. Let's get back. Let's do a time capsule. Next step, we'll pull out one of my granddad's time capsules here. See if we can find an interesting one. That one looks good. And then we're going to do a mouse trap that we'll keep right here that I think is going to solve this problem that we're having with our infestation. So what in the world are we going to find in here besides dead mouse carcass? Oh my goodness. This might just be a write-off. That's just disgusting. This is actually so foul that from all the mouse drop, oh, it's disgusting. There is nothing I'm saving in here. It's got to go. That was easy. Those filthy little hateful creatures have almost ruined that drawer. Look at that clear cedar. That is beautiful. Okay, let's build a mouse trap that is going to fix this problem so it doesn't happen anymore. According to a lot of folks, this right here is the ultimate mousetrap. Now, my friend Ken sent this to me. I had no idea what it was until someone emailed me and told me that's a rolling log mousetrap. So the principle is pretty simple. We'll drill 2 holes in this 5-gallon bucket and we'll put some bait, i.e. peanut butter, on the end. And this is on bearings and it rolls very easily. And so when they come up here and they walk across here, they're going to slip and fall in, and I'm going to put water in there so they drowned. And if that hurts your fine sensibilities, well, I'm sorry. If you want to relocate mice, go ahead. I want them dead. Now we should be able to just spread that bucket. Oh man, that is awesome. Good job, Ken. Put some water in there. Oh, good grief. What in the world? You couldn't make that happen if you wanted to. Okay. I'm going to fill it up about a third full. All right, I'm going to be very excited to see what happens tomorrow. I'm going to put a little Dawn soap in there. That'll break the surface tension, make the little demons drown quicker, because mouse do love peanut butter. So we're going to bait this with peanut butter and smear that all the way around there. Well, that was a little bit much there. I wish I had a game camera that I could put up so that it would trigger at night so we could watch that. Yesterday I put another bunch of rusty tools that I had in the rusties. They've been sitting, again, about like last time, about 16 hours or so. I thought I'd show you how these turned out. It's never ceases to amaze me. Like look at these guys. These shears they got left outside and they were completely covered. They were all pretty rusty. Look at them now. They look like brand new. What else do we have in here? So we have these channel locks. These were bad. Look at that. You do have to brush a little bit on stuff that's really, really bad, but I mean, it's just a matter of wiping it off. These channel locks, I mean, these things look terrible. They were completely just covered in rust, and now they're that's beautiful. It'd be interesting to see if after brushing it, I'll bet if we put it back in there, that they would clean up even better. Had some fence pliers that were the same way. Just kind of rusty there. Those look good. Had 2 sets of fence pliers. These were really getting bad. Irwin. My shop is wet. That's why I don't like pole barns. People ask what I'd recommend for a shop. My last shop I built was a 5,000 square foot 2x6 framed. It was framed like a house, and it was my dream shop, actually. It was so sad to have to leave it. And now we're moving into this, the pole barn, and I'm not complaining, but there are some downsides in that they're cold, and they're damp, and they're wet. And so your tools just inherently rust. Sometimes when the conditions are right, it actually rains in here. And I know you can put vapor barriers and stuff and all that on there, but I mean, just compared to if I was going to build a shop, I would not build a pole barn unless it was just something for like animals. I don't know what I wouldn't want a pole barn I guess the allure of it is that they're very inexpensive to build and they go up quick, but they are not very nice to live in and to work in. One downside to the rusties is the metal rusts very quickly. It strips off every bit of grease, and so it's not protected at all. So I don't know the best way to go about reapplying that. I've just been kind of putting some WD-40 on a rag and then just wiping everything down before I put it away. We'll see. I'll report back on that if that works. Maybe it'd be better just to get some light oil and just dip them in there. That would probably be the best way. I just don't have anything like that. Let me know what you have found to work. Something you might want to think about when you're setting up your shop is carve off a little area on the side of a bench. It's kind of out of the way where you can have a little battery station. You want to take your batteries out during the winter time where they'll go flat and then you'll have to replace them. you know, $50, $60. So if you take them out and get yourself a little tinder, if you don't have one already, this is just a little trickle charger that just keeps them topped off. And I don't connect them all together. I just, whenever I come out to the shop, I've just gotten in the habit of moving the clamps and just making sure that they stay topped off. And they'll last for a long, long time. You don't have to do it every day, just whenever you think about it. But that's a good way to save some money. I also, when I put my batteries in here, I orient them so the positives are all on the same side. So you don't have to think about it. So do it one time, and then all you have to do is when you go along is just move it down, and then keep those guys charged up and topped off, and those batteries will last you a long, long time. So I guess that's about all we have time for today. It's Friday afternoon, Sabbath's coming up, and so we're just winding down and getting ready for that. It's something that we enjoy so much. It's nice to have that oasis at the end of the week that you can look forward to, and just know that you've got 24 hours to relax. You don't have to do anything. Don't have to come out here and organize or work in the shop. What we might be doing this weekend, and I'll try to bring you along for this, is we might be heading out to get cut a Christmas tree. We typically cut our Christmas tree on our own place, but I was thinking this year it would be nice to have, I'd love to have a noble. I love noble firs because they grow at really high alpine areas, and they're just beautiful trees. And we might drive up to Mount Fuji up there and go up in the snow and pack in and get one. We found on Craigslist, we're trying to wonder how we're going to deal with the sweet loaf when we go skiing and stuff, cross-country skiing. So what the idea is, we got on Craigslist and we found a little toboggan deal that's got some stays that hook to a harness that we can put her in and zip her all up and cover her up and pull her along. It's just a little toboggan deal that's going to be pretty cool. So we might bring you along for that. I always enjoy, Mrs. W asked me last night what it is that I enjoy about Christmas the most. And I think what it is the anticipation. My parents always did such a great job in decorating the home and making it special, and the Christmas gifts. I have very fond, actually the fondest memories of my childhood were those Christmas mornings coming down to the gifts. My dad did things a little bit differently. Both my parents, they didn't wrap anything up. They were very generous with Christmas gifts, and they would spread them all out. And so you'd come down. You couldn't hardly sleep. You're so excited. You guys probably relate. Come down in the morning, and the Christmas tree was on, and you saw all that stuff, and it was truly magical. And it's a very, very fond memory to me of my childhood. So the downside of Christmas is whenever we feature these type of videos or do a Christmas tree, is it brings out the Christian fundamentalists who get very anxious and start quoting scriptures out of context about how I'm a heretic for bringing a Christmas tree in my house. And I know the tradition. I know the scripture probably better than they do, and I know enough, or I have enough good sense not to quote scripture out of context. So save it. Worry about your own things and less about other people, and you'll get along a lot better in life. So the last time I checked, I was not bowing down to the Christmas tree as an idol. I've never seen anyone bow down to a Christmas tree as an idol. So yes. Are we on safe ground as Christians to bring Christmas trees in our house? You know, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just I only ask is don't tell me what to do either, and we'll all get along just fine. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys hopefully up in the snow.